Hey guys, so today I'm going to be trying to melt this. Now you guessed it, this is copper. And the reason I'm trying to do this is because I don't really have a lot of availability to like propane, like to make a propane burner. Like most people on YouTube, when they melt it, they have propane burners or like some sort of furnace that they can melt it in. I don't really have that. So I'm going to be trying to melt it today with wood. That's right, only wood. Now, the reason I'm trying this is because I know ancient people used to do this with charcoal, which is basically just burnt wood. So why not just try using a whole bunch of scrap wood I have laying around? So the first step to doing this is to dig the hole that I'm gonna put my crucible in to burn it. So let's get right to that. Okay, so I've got my shovel out here, and now all we're gonna do is dig a hole that's about a foot deep, or a foot and a half deep, and about a foot wide. This way we can pack our wood around our crucible, and that will give us plenty of fuel for the fire to get it hot enough. So I'm going to set up my GoPro into time lapse and let's get right to it. Okay, so we've got our hole dug, and I decided to actually make it quite a bit wider than a foot wide. I probably made it around, I don't know, 2 foot wide. Yeah, I'd probably say 2 foot, foot and a half wide, and probably 2 foot deep. The reason I did this is I want to make sure I have plenty of room to pack enough wood in here to heat up my crucible, because we're going to need to burn a lot of wood, which is why I've got that whole pile and a whole bunch of logs that I split earlier all the way over there. So yeah, now that we've got this hole dug, what we need to do is we need to make a channel where we can stick our pipe for our force air into. And the way I'm gonna do this is I'm just gonna probably take my shovel, and then I'm just gonna chisel away right about here so I have a downward slant to where the pipe sticks out probably, I don't know, 2-3 inches above the bottom. And you'll see why that's important later on. But right now, let's go ahead and dig this channel. So we've got our hole dug, or our channel dug. You can see it goes down there at about a 45 angle, not exactly perfect. So now what we're gonna do, we're just gonna take our pipe and see how far it sticks in there. So we've got about, I don't know, this much, I don't know, 3-4 inches above the ground, which is perfect. And then we've got it sitting, I don't know, let's see if I can get you in here, sitting about 2 inches off of the ground, which the reason we're gonna make it 2 inches off the ground is because we're gonna end up filling the bottom of this, or not really filling, but sticking in a piece of concrete tile, or just like a piece of concrete in there, or even a stone to set our crucible on, so it's not sitting on the cold ground. So that's the reason that's gonna be 2 inches above. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and fill this over, and you don't need to see that on camera. I've pretty much dug a hole already. It's the same principle. So let's go ahead and do that. So I went ahead and I filled this one in with dirt, and I decided that I'll probably need more air, so I added another one. So this one's just coming in at a, like, they make a line, so a 100 or 180 degree angle. So now the next step is to take our concrete block. We're just gonna set it down in there. Now you're gonna wanna make sure that this is as level as you can get it. So that means either like putting in extra dirt where it's unlevel. So like mine's a little unlevel this way, so I'm gonna move some extra dirt over here and kind of pack it down. And there's also a rock in there that's making it really hard, so I might have to end up rotating it like that to get it where I want it. And then this will provide a nice flat surface for our crucible to sit on. And then this way the charcoal can also, or the ash and the charcoal can also fall around the sides, not clogging up the bottom of the, well, not really the bottom of the crucible, but like the bottom of the thing. So this will just be like an extra advantage for our crucible. So now the next step is to get an air source for both of these. So for this one, I'm probably gonna use a hair dryer. This one, I'm probably gonna use a shop vac that has a really strong fan. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna light a small fire in here and kind of dry everything out. And in the process, I'm gonna set that metal plate over the top and set our crucible on top of that to get it acclimatized to the high temperature. So let's get right to that. Okay, so now I'm just gonna fill this up with some wood. I'm just gonna pour some lighter fluid over this and then start this little fire going. This is just gonna heat up the hole. We're not actually sticking our crucible in this time. This is just to heat up the hole and to make sure that everything is dry before we actually try to melt some copper, because otherwise any moisture in there will like turn into steam and most likely ruin our whole batch. So now I'm just gonna go grab some lighter fluid, pour it pretty much all over this wood. Yeah, that should be good. And then I'm just gonna light this on fire. Okay, so there's our lighter fluid going. So I'm only going to use the hairdryer to get like some air into this one so it can dry out everything else. And then also with this fire, like I mentioned before, we're going to place this piece of metal over this, and we're going to use that to dry out our crucible. Now the reason we're drying out our crucible or making sure it's ready for higher temperatures is because this is just a simple clay pot I found at a thrift store. I've used ones like these before and it worked fine until I heated it up too quickly. And the reason they work fine is because they're fired in a kiln, which goes up to about 1500 degrees, which is just a little below the melting temperature of copper. So I'm pretty sure this will be just fine to melt our copper in as long as we take care of it properly. So I'm just going to let this burn down to some coals, pour some air into it, and then I'm going to dry out our crucible. And then we're going to be able, hopefully soon, to melt some copper. Okay, so this has been going for probably about 10 minutes, and right now this is pretty dang hot, and our crucible, I'm pretty sure, has begun to, well, not crack, but like it's heated up to about the right temperature where I can start sticking it directly in the fire, because it's pretty dang hot right now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the crucible with some copper. I'm going to let this go for a little bit more while I'm doing that. And then I'm gonna kill the air, stick the crucible in there, let it heat up, make sure it's still not gonna crack. And then I'm gonna turn on both fans and just keep on adding wood. And then what I'm gonna do with this copper, if it does melt, if my crucible doesn't fail, because if anything, I think my crucible will fail, and then my copper will just be spilt everywhere. But what I'm gonna do if this does work is I have made these little ring templates, or not really templates, but molds, that I can stick in some sand and then just pour the molten copper onto, and it'll make a copper ring for me. That's the whole purpose of me doing this copper, is I want to see if I can actually do it without any propane, without anything special, just some wood, a hairdryer, and a shop vac. So let's go ahead and fill this up with some copper and let's, I don't know, melt some stuff. Okay, so we've got the copper in there, and it's probably going to be pretty loud in the video because that hairdryer sounds really loud, especially when there's like the circle of air going down in there. But you can see that's just from the hair dryer. Let me show you what happens when I kick on the shop vac. This is going to be really loud. Yeah, you can see down in there. I'm pretty sure with enough wood, I'm going to be able to melt some copper in this. So let's let that heat up a little bit more, and then let's melt some copper. Okay, so I'm fairly certain right now that my crucible will not crack if I stick it in the fire. So I'm going to go ahead and shut off the hairdryer, pull it out, and then grab my pliers, and then pull the crucible off, set it aside, and then pull the lid off, set it aside, and then I'm going to use the shovel to make me a hole where I can lower the crucible down onto that cement block. On second thoughts, I might go grab a jacket. Let's first see how much this will burn if I... Yeah, I think I can I can get it in there. So, let's go ahead and do this relatively quick. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Crucible sitting on a chunk of ash. That's not good. So, let's grab this and see if we... Ah! Man, these gloves have holes in them. That's not good when you're dealing with fire. So let's go ahead and see if I can navigate the crucible around using the shovel. Okay, there. Seems fairly flat. So I'll grab the camera, show you what this looks like. Okay, so you can see in there, it's sitting on that concrete thing, and it's relatively stable right now. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna stick some more wood in around it, put in the hairdryer and that thing, turn them on, and just let it work. And I'm also gonna stick that metal piece over just so it will, I don't know, retain some of the heat. And you can see the flux in there, the borax, it's starting to melt down, which is a good sign because that means we're getting pretty hot temperatures. So let's go ahead and do that. Just listen to that thunderous roar. It's strangely empowering. Let's see if I can zoom in and see the crucible in there. Probably not, but it's right in the base of there. So I think we might be able to melt some copper with this, just as long as I keep the wood in there. So I'm just gonna keep on filling this up with wood and checking the crucible to make sure it hasn't broken periodically, and then if it eventually does break or if it melts, I'll bring the camera back on. Okay, so it's been going for about an hour now, maybe an hour and a half, and all I'm seeing is the crucible glow a low colored red, like a light red, and that's not good because when I was just using my normal charcoal forge, it was getting it up to a really hot, or my normal coal forge, it was getting up to almost a yellow hot. So this is probably not a good sign. I don't think we have enough heat, and I think the reason being is I had to pull my hairdryer out. Now I had to pull that out because it started to melt. Like the air from the shop vac was pushing up through the other, like the other vent, and starting to melt my hairdryer. So I think I'm just gonna let this burn out right now, and then I'll grab the crucible and see what has happened. Okay, so I went ahead and I turned off the shop vac, and I'm just gonna lift this up, dig out some of these logs. Oh, bad idea. Bad idea. Okay, that was dumb. Let's throw them this way. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of lift that up, and you can see the crucible is just very slightly glowing red. I could probably melt aluminum with this, I would guess. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead, pull that out, and then dump out the contents. Okay, so I grabbed my crucible, and let's go ahead and see if anything even melted. Oh, lovely. The tip of my crucible just broke. That's not a good sign. Okay, so it's just chipping away the more I haggle with it, so that's not good. So yeah, that didn't melt. Oh, some of it was sticking together at the end, but I think that might just have been because of the borax. Yeah, we didn't even get close to melting. Well, I guess maybe. You can see right there it started to melt, so yeah, I might as well cut my losses. This crucible is basically busted. Yeah, you can see right there, it didn't even start to melt the wire together. At least I got it closer in my forge. So, well, I'm gonna go ahead, let this cool off, and then we'll see what happened. Nothing happened to it much. Like, there was one that maybe it looked a little bit like it maybe could have melted. This one right here, like in the end, but I think that might just be because of the glaze. So ultimately this was a complete failure, probably a waste of about, I don't know, 3 hours of my time. And you can see my crucible is now broken, and there might be a little bit of copper left on the inside of the crucible, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and also leave a suggestion for what I should be doing for my next videos. And thanks for watching.